Behind all the headlines and political drama, there's something else going on, a kind of constant churn that actually has a huge impact on our daily lives. I'm talking about the endless reshuffling of key government officials. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this bureaucratic carousel and figure out why it keeps spinning and what it really means for how things get done. Okay, let's just jump right in with this question because it really gets to the heart of the matter. Is all this shuffling really about governing? Or is it about making sure no one sticks around long enough to, either expose some serious corruption or actually see a major reform through to the end? That's a pretty heavy accusation, right? So let's see if we can unpack it.
So, what kicked this whole conversation into high gear? Well, it all started with what looked like a totally normal, kind of boring government notice. But this one opened up a whole can of worms and pointed to a much, much bigger pattern. Let's take a look at the actual event that got everyone talking.
So, here it is, December 8, 2025. This one notification basically set off a domino effect. Now you see these names here. These are senior officers, the heavy hitters from India's top civil services, the IAS and the MCS. We're talking about the people who are supposed to be running the show, and when they get suddenly moved around like this, well, it's not just a personnel change, it's a huge disruption that sends shockwaves through the most important government departments.
But here's the thing, and this is really the key point. This wasn't some isolated incident, not at all. It's actually part of a pattern, a cycle that just keeps repeating. That December 8th order, it was just the latest move in a game of bureaucratic musical chairs that's been going on all year.
I mean, just look at this timeline. It really paints a picture, doesn't it? We've got a big reshuffle early in 2025. Then, boom, August 7th, another major bureaucratic reshuffle. And then the one we just talked about on December 8th. This isn't happening once in a blue moon. We're talking about massive, system-wide changes happening every single few months. And let's be super clear here. These aren't just minor adjustments, moving a few desks around. The August reshuffle, for example, it hit the absolute heart of the administration. We're talking about the finance department, the people who control the money, mining and geology, a huge source of state income, and education. I mean, that's literally the future we're talking about. These are the engines of the state, and it feels like they're constantly swapping out the person in the driver's seat.
Okay, so this brings us to the big question, right? If all this shuffling causes so much chaos and disruption, why on earth does it keep happening? Well, to answer that, we have to look past the administration and into the politics behind the appointments.
So this is basically the political playbook. It's not random, it's a strategy. First up, you move people around so they never get comfortable. You prevent them from gaining too much knowledge because, deep knowledge can be a threat to political control. Step 2, you break up any potential alliances. You don't want your top officers getting too friendly with, say, major contractors. Step 3 is a classic, reset the clock on accountability. A project fails, was it the fault of the person who just left or the person who just arrived? Good luck figuring that out. And finally, step 4, it's about rewards and punishments. Loyal officers get the cushy jobs, while the independent-minded ones get shuffled off somewhere less influential.
Okay, so now we kind of get the political logic behind it. But what's the actual real-world cost of all this chaos? What's the price we all pay when the people supposed to be in charge are basically living out of a suitcase, always in transition? Wow. Okay, this right here really shows you the disconnect. On one side, you have what the experts say. The Administrative Reforms Commission recommends a minimum fixed term of 3 years. Why? For stability, for accountability, so someone can actually see a project through. And then, you look at the reality. Officers are getting shuffled around every 4 to 6 months. It's not even close.
Just to put this into perspective, let's make it real. Imagine you are the new finance secretary. You are now responsible for managing a budget of over 30,000 crore rupees. That's an insane amount of money and responsibility. And your boss says, great, you've got 4 months. 4 months? How could anyone possibly even understand a system that complex, let alone try to improve it in just a few months? It's just impossible.
So when you add all this up, what do you get? Well, you get something that can only be called governance paralysis. Think about it. Every time an officer leaves, all their knowledge walks out the door with them. The new person comes in, and everything grinds to a halt while they get up to speed. Big, important projects lose their champion and just fizzle out. Accountability gets so fuzzy, no one knows who's responsible for what. And what's the result? Everyone just focuses on small, quick wins they can achieve in a few months instead of tackling the big, hairy problems.
All right, so when you put all of these pieces of the puzzle together, you start to see it's not just a bunch of separate issues. It's actually a system, a self-perpetuating vicious cycle. Let's call it the perpetual transfer trap.
And here's exactly how that trap works. Stage 1. A new, ambitious officer gets posted. Stage 2. They spend the first 3 to 6 months just trying to figure out who's who and what's what, learning the ropes. Stage 3. After maybe half a year or so, they finally start to get some reforms off the ground. But then, Stage 4, those reforms start to rub someone the wrong way, hitting political roadblocks. And just as they're trying to push through, Stage 5, they get transferred. And the whole cycle starts all over again with someone new.
And what's the end result of all this? It's simple, really. You get perpetual motion without any actual progress. You see a ton of activity, right? Lots of meetings, announcements, files being pushed around. It looks like work is happening, but in the end, nothing of substance ever really gets finished. Which leaves us with this one final, really critical question to think about. We always hear governments talk about the importance of administrative continuity. But if that's what they truly want, why have a transfer policy that seems perfectly designed to destroy it? It's a massive contradiction, and it sits right at the very heart of how we're governed. Something to think about.